The sleek white jet set gleaming on the tarmac at Los Angeles International Airport. Marcus Chen adjusted his navy suit jacket and climbed the stairs, his leather briefcase in hand. At 35, he had built Chen Technologies from a small startup into a billion-dollar empire. Today's flight to Seattle would seal the biggest merger in his company's history. "Excuse me, sir," came a sharp voice from behind him. Flight attendant Sarah Mills stood blocking the aisle, her blonde hair pulled back severely. "I'm going to need to see your boarding pass again." Marcus smiled politely, pulling out his phone. "Of course. Here it is." Sarah barely glanced at the screen. "This must be some mistake. You can't be in first class." Her voice carried a sneer that made the other passengers look up from their seats. "I'm sorry." Marcus kept his tone steady, though his jaw tightened slightly. "Look, I don't know how you got that pass, but people like you don't fly in first class on my flights." Sarah's words cut through the cabin like ice. The businessman in seat 3A shifted uncomfortably. The elderly woman across the aisle gasped softly. Marcus felt the familiar sting of racism, but years of corporate battles had taught him patience. "Ma'am, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding here." Sarah stepped closer, her voice rising. "I've seen your type before. Probably using someone else's ticket, thinking you can just waltz in here like you own the place." The cabin fell silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Marcus noticed the other passengers pulling out their phones, fingers hovering over camera apps. This was about to become very public, very quickly. "Sarah, that's enough." Captain Rodriguez appeared from the cockpit, his face flushed with embarrassment. "Sir, I apologize profusely for this behavior." But Sarah wasn't finished. Her face twisted with rage as she raised her hand and slapped Marcus hard across the cheek. The sharp crack echoed through the cabin like a gunshot. "That's what happens when you try to scam your way onto my flight," she spat. Marcus touched his stinging cheek, his dark eyes calm but blazing with quiet fury. The passengers held their breath, waiting for his reaction. Instead of anger, Marcus smiled a slow, knowing smile that somehow made Sarah take a step back. "Your flight," Marcus repeated softly. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a gold business card. "I think you should take a look at this." Sarah snatched the card, her confidence wavering as she read it aloud. "Marcus Chen, Chief Executive Officer, Chen Technologies." Her face went pale. This has to be fake." "Captain Rodriguez," Marcus said calmly, "would you please confirm who owns this aircraft?" The captain's voice was barely a whisper. "Chen Technologies Aviation Division, sir. You're the owner of this entire fleet." The color drained completely from Sarah's face. The businessman in 3A started recording openly now. The elderly woman shook her head in disgust at what she had witnessed. Marcus pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Maya? It's Marcus. I need you to pull all employment records for flight attendant Sarah Mills immediately." He paused, listening. "Yes, I'll hold." Sarah's hands shook as the reality hit her. She had just assaulted the CEO of the company that employed her. The man who signed her paychecks. The owner of the very plane she worked on. "Interesting," Marcus said after a moment on the phone. "Maya, it seems Ms. Mills has had 17 complaints filed against her for discriminatory behavior in the past 2 years." His voice carried across the cabin clearly. "And her supervisor, Tom Bradley, buried every single one of them." Sarah sank into the nearest seat, her career flashing before her eyes. "Maya, I want Sarah Mills terminated immediately. Tom Bradley too. In fact, I want his entire management team investigated. Anyone who enabled this behavior is gone." Marcus's voice was still wrapped in silk. "Zero tolerance means zero tolerance." The passengers watched in stunned silence as justice unfolded before their eyes. Within minutes, Maya called back with confirmation. Sarah's access badges were deactivated. Her supervisor was being escorted from the building in Seattle. 3 other managers who had ignored discrimination complaints were clearing out their desks. Marcus turned to address the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize that you had to witness this. But sometimes the only way to fight hatred is to shine a bright light on it. He looked directly at Sarah, who was now crying quietly. Every person, regardless of race, deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. As the plane taxied for takeoff, Marcus gazed out the window at the sprawling city below. Change wouldn't happen overnight, but today was a start. Today, racism had consequences. Today, justice had wings. The flight attendant who had replaced Sarah approached nervously. Mr. Chen, is there anything I can get you? Marcus smiled warmly. Just a coffee, please. And thank you for treating everyone with respect. That's all any of us really want. As the jet climbed into the California sky, Marcus Chen knew that sometimes the most important flights aren't about the destination, they're about the journey toward a better world.